This is In the Dirt with ASOTU. Nice.
Oh boy, God.
It's just one of those. That's how we start podcasts. We're sitting here with Jamie Suid. Jamie is, I hope I got the last name right.
Suid.
Jamie Suid. Okay. There we go. And he's the marketing director with Florida Fine Cars, which is interesting because we actually don't talk to a lot of people that are within the independent dealership ecosystem. Yeah. And it's cool because you actually are integrated a lot with what's happening on the franchise side of the business. Like you're in and amongst the marketers and the technologies and out here at Modern Retail Conference. What was your decision? Like, how did you get into making sure that you were leaning into that side of the business, even though you're in that independent world?
Sure. So, well, one is not to say anything poor about it, but frankly, the franchise-related conferences and things they've got everybody, right? It's a who's who. All the vendors are there. Whereas you go to some of the independent conferences, it's not necessarily the case. Still fine, and you can make a lot of headway there, but especially in the technology side of things, events like this, events like Digital Dealer, although I haven't been to one of those in a little bit now, but Pash always does a good job here. And so yeah, that's mainly why I come to these. And also, so here I just presented with Orbi as well.
Gotcha.
As a client of theirs.
Yeah. So, and talk a little bit about, because, the scale, especially when you think like used car dealership and independent dealership, a lot of times, people don't recognize that there are dealerships that are kind of scaling up and utilizing technology in these new and unique ways. Talk a little bit about the evolution and the growth in especially technology that Florida Fine Cars particularly has seen over the last few years.
Yeah. So for us, I've been with the company for 11 years. And one of the first things I had to learn when I got to Florida Fine Cars was that they actually have their own DMS system. So we actually have a sister company called Automatrix that it's our DMS, it's our CRM, it writes the service tickets, it handles payroll, it does everything, does all the accounting, all the reporting. And so there was a steep learning curve. My previous experience at a dealership before Florida Fine Cars was a Volkswagen dealer that used ADP, now of course CDK. And it was night and day. And the reason why we went that direction with hiring developers, hiring web design, all this stuff is we needed to be more flexible with everything, whether it's the reporting, the data, we wanted our hands on everything. And no matter which vendor we looked at, we always felt like either one, it's way too expensive, right? We have 4 locations, so we do okay, right? And we're gonna open up at a 5th location next year. But we always wanted the hands on the data at all times. It was our data. These are our customers. We want to be able to reference that data in any way for any kind of reporting, helping BDC better know who they're talking about, help the inventory managers know what cars to look for, what to price for, what's hot, what's going to sell quickly, all that stuff. And so that was the big step there. But in terms of marketing, advertising, all that stuff too, I also look at just retail in general. The different trends we see outside of automotive, because you learn very quickly everyone kind of lives in the same silo. And since I don't have to play by OEM rules, I have a lot more flexibility. And I mentioned Orbi before. One of the reasons why I've been with them for 7 years or so is there's a lot of will to do stuff differently. So if I see something, as an example, just looking at Best Buy one day, this is maybe 5 years ago, and I noticed, it's like, I like this history thing that shows me all the stuff I looked at before. Why are we not doing that? Hey, a tool, Orbi, because it's something you could help us with. Yeah, absolutely. So built us that widget, right? And so definitely leaning in as much as possible to the personalization, but especially in terms of the analytics side as well.
So Give everyone a little bit of a summary. So you said you have 4 locations.
Yes.
What kind of volume? Because there's a lot of context needed, I think.
Okay, yeah, sure. So depending on the month, a small store of ours will do, let's say, 80 units on a good month. Well over 200. I mean, we definitely had our days where we're in the 700 mark for multiple locations. So yeah, at a minimum, I would say 75, 80, 90 units roughly.
And how far from your locations do you typically sell cars? Like what's your blast radius?
Yeah, I would say, well, especially in Florida where everything's so condensed, really you don't get much outside of, I would say, 12 to 15 miles. It's pretty compact because, I mean, just take where we are and you go out.
Where are you? Where are the locations?
Oh, so we're in Miami, Margate, which is basically, we're in the 3 major counties,
Gotcha.
right? We're in
Yeah.
Palm Beach, Broward,
Makes a lot
and
more
Dade
sense.
County.
Right.
And so point to point, we're about 65 or 70 miles apart, and then we have a store right in the middle. And like I said, you go 15 miles away from our Miami store, you basically got all of Miami. You know,
Right.
essentially.
There's enough.
There's millions of people. So
Yeah.
Heading into 2023, where is a big part of your focus and trajectory? What do you think the key is going to be to unlock 2023 for you?
Sure. So the biggest action that we're working on now basically is to take all these reports that we have, right? We're super heavy and looking at the data, and I'm sort of the data nerd at the at the company, me along with one of the owners, and is making everything actionable. You know, it's one thing to have meetings, it's one thing to share information, but it's just a lot, we could save a lot of time in just telling our employees, telling our staff, this is what you need to do today. You know, whether it's a buyer looking at exact cars that we need to replace or something maybe that's selling in the market that we haven't sold, just tell them that. You know, be very direct. If it's a BDC manager, right, here's all your leads that came in the last hour that don't have anybody attached to it. Just take the actions. You know, get away from the reporting. Reporting is great, especially from a macro level, but when it comes to everybody else, it's just getting them the most actionable data as possible. That's our big move right now.
Yeah, moving anything insights to action, I think, is a key, especially when there's so much you can look at. There's so much data. So dial in on where people can be effective, and that's where you can leverage technology
1000%,
to your benefit. So, hey, Jamie, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and glad to see you here at MRC, and can't wait to see kind of how you all unlock that data in the next year.
Keep you posted.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this episode of In the Dirt with ASOTU. If you're new to our channel, make sure and mash that like and subscribe button. Also, check out some of these links for our other great podcasts and content.